Welcome back to This Is Now, Parenting Teens Today. I'm your host, Tiffany Dogie, and today we are in dad mode. We're going to have a real conversation about what it means to lead in the community, succeed in business, and be present at home. And these guys are doing it all. They've got careers, they've got families, they've got toddlers, they've got teenagers, and we're going to talk about how are they doing this, the pressure, the balance, the values that you're trying to instill in your kids, all of that today. And right next to me, I have someone that you're all very familiar with. Our co-host, Erik Chafin, Chief Development Officer at Children's Harbor, is not just the CDO. He's the father to three teenagers, which basically makes him a parenting Jedi to me. Next to him, we have Mike Wild from WFP Law, raising two of his own teenagers.
I'm smarter than Erik. I stopped at 2.
And then
was my fault, Mike.
we have Nick Sproul from Southwestern Real Estate, who's raising 3 kids under the age of 4. And one of them is a newborn, which basically means that he's being fueled by caffeine and sheer determination.
So he looks very bushy-tailed and bright-eyed right now.
We love you for being
Nick.
here.
Very impressive, sir.
So, gentlemen, start your engines. You ready?
Ready.
First question. What pressures or expectations do you feel as dads now that maybe your own dads or father figures didn't have to deal with?
Well, the funny thing is my dad, and I love him to death. He's a great dad, but he prides himself on the fact that to this day, father of 3 has never changed one diaper, done one load of laundry, or done one load of dishes. And that is something that is foreign to me. I have always been a very active father, never seeing the gender roles of, diaper changing and food shopping and things like that. And especially I'm a divorced father now. So obviously I do all of those things now because you have to. But from the beginning, I always felt being a father was the most important thing to me before even starting my business, before even going to law school. I didn't have kids, but I always knew I wanted to be a dad. And the part of being a dad that I loved was those taking care of the kids, making sure that when they're young, you're playing with them at the playground, you're coaching them in t-ball, you're always at the plays, you're always at the different debate tournaments and things like that. You're present. And so I feel like it used to be mom was expected to do these things. And if dad did anything competent, then it was like, you are the best dad ever. And now I think it's equaled out a lot more in society to where we expect both parents. It's not uncommon for a woman to work and a man to be at home. It's not uncommon for both parents to work. And it's very common to be in a situation where I am where the kids spend half the time with each parent. And so both parents have to fill all those roles.
Wow. Yeah. There was a thing I saw on social media recently that said millennial dads spend 3 times as much time with their kids as their fathers did. Now that was on social media, so take it with a grain of salt. I don't know how
he is referencing the Xers. I want you guys to know he's referencing the Xers.
It's a good data point.
That's you.
It's true though. Yeah. I mean, from my experience, it's been pretty true. Is everything Mike just said about the roles being a lot more equaled out. So before I came here, I had a 1-month-old strapped to me while I'm like answering emails and bouncing around while my wife is on.
You should have brought. You should have. And then you could have done the podcast with that would have been gold.
That would have been whole
multitask.
You don't remember having babies. Like you can't have a baby at a podcast,
dude. That's perfect. That's perfect marketing on a Zoom call. Come on. I mean, you want to buy this house, right? I mean, come on, for the kid.
Yeah,
new college fund.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So you're all raising sons and daughters.
Yes.
Have you ever caught yourself parenting differently, either consciously or unconsciously, based on whether you're talking to your son or your daughter?
Every day.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
That was so fast.
100%. Yeah. I mean, it depends on, it's funny. My son being 20 now, it's different gearing towards my daughter. And my daughter even comes to me and says, "Oh, Dad, you're going to let me, have this and that." I go, no, honey. Well, why? Because I'm a girl? I go, kind of, sort of. So there's certain dynamics with that, there's a regulation. So I thank God I have Ian to help me regulate some of these things.
Okay.
And it goes the other way too, because I'll tell you, like daddies and their daughters, like I mean, I protect my daughter, even though she's the older. My daughter's 16, my son's 11. And just recently, this is not more than a month ago, my son was complaining. He woke up, Daddy, I'm not feeling well. You know, my legs are really hurting. I got a headache, whatever. And I look at him, I get your clothes on. We are going to school. We are walking across the street. You're going to stay there. And I don't want to hear you call me from the nurse's office.
Mhm.
You're going to stay in school all day. I'm not raising a wimp. I'm raising a man. Let's go. The same morning, my daughter says, Daddy, I'm not feeling very well. Like, oh, baby, go back to bed. I'll call you. So it's completely different. And most of the time, my daughter does know, even though I have no problem with the menstrual cycle or anything like that. If she does say that she's having cramps, I don't know anything from that. So I just assume you're telling the truth. Go back to bed.
I'm gonna reserve comment on the cramps.
Yeah.
So I do believe it's milked quite a bit.
Oh, I know it
Absolutely.
is, but it's not my place as a man to say. I'll have my ex-wife tell her she has to go to
Yes.
school. That's
I
fine.
love the way you
But-
co-parent.
yeah.
You're like, hey, is this a real thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, my conversations are a little different with
Yeah.
with the age of my kids. I'm still trying to explain to my son Dominic that those are not bug bites on his chest, and
Yeah.
it's
That's
a different conversation
Yeah.
at this age. But I am a little harder on him. I am a little more like, yes, get your clothes on, like we got to get moving, and then I am on my daughter as well. Yeah.
So what's one thing that you're intentional about teaching them regardless of their gender? Like this is a solid value that I want to make sure is reinforced in my daughter and my son.
I would say being present in communication. Yeah, that's something that we're really big in our family is, communicating really well and being open about whatever is going on. I've had a ton of times where my daughter has come to me to disclose certain things, which is a big blessing, being 16, but having those communication lines open, which I think growing up is a little different, I think, where, a lot of families, you close things. You don't really talk about certain things.
Mm-hmm.
I think now it's a little bit different, and each of my kids, they feel very comfortable coming to
Mm-hmm.
to Diane and myself to whatever topic it may be, which is a blessing.
Yeah, you really have phenomenal relationship with all of your kids. It's something I've really admired when I've watched them for the last 5 years, and your relationship with your kids is solid. They come to you with everything.
Sometimes it's not that great because then you have to.
Well, I didn't say.
Maybe I should. Maybe I don't
Yeah.
want to hear that, but
Yeah.
You know what's funny is and I wasn't going to say that, but I agree with it. I think it's generational too, because I was thinking back when I was a child, and I remember the episode. My dad and I would watch TV together all the time, and the episode on Seinfeld of Dolores. You remember that one? And I was like, wait, what? I didn't get it. What did it rhyme with? And my dad had to say clitoris to me.
Oh.
And I was like, and even at that age, I'm like, what? Wait, what?
Yeah.
and so I felt like an awkward situation. My son, who's 11, we're very open and honest. Like I'm almost too honest to the point where I've told every one of my both of my kids, not everyone, but both of my kids that there's a pure line open that if whatever they ask me, if they ask me an honest question, I'm always going to give them an honest answer. And my son asked me the other day, he goes, Daddy, have you ever lied to me? I said, well, when you were little, Mommy wanted you to believe in Santa Claus. I said, so I had to go along with that. I said, well, otherwise, everything you've ever asked me, I've told you the truth.
He doesn't
Yeah.
believe in Santa Claus? He's
Well,
only
he's
11.
11. If your
That-
kid believes in Santa at 11, that's a problem.
Oh.
It's-
I think we pushed Hannah till about
Yeah.
12 or 13.
Wah,
You did,
wah.
really?
Yeah.
All
Oh,
the
she might have been
kids-
faking it,
But all the kids in the
just
class
to say,
are basically
she
making
was-
fun of
yeah.
her.
If you
She's
don't,
the youngest too.
people
so.
who don't believe in Santa Claus don't get presents.
Can I tell you also, Tiffany? I want to remind you, I'm Jewish. so my ex-wife is Christian, but so for me, I would say to her, I'd say, if it's not that they don't believe in Santa, my daughter stopped believing when she was like 6. My son went a little bit longer than that, and I go, not only are the kids in his school going to make fun of him for believing in Santa, but isn't he thinking, why didn't this guy ever get me any presents? Like,
Oh my
I never get a
gosh.
present from Santa.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Terrible.
So, what do you wish someone had told you about being a dad before you became one?
Everybody tells you it goes by fast, and you don't. That's something you need to see for yourself, right? You can be told this over and over and over again that, hey, it's going to go by really fast. Try to enjoy it.
Hmm.
And you don't really understand that until you watch it happen. So somebody did once describe to me like, you're trying to juggle all these different balls with work and your physical health and your kids and your relationship with your spouse. And somebody described it to me like most of those things can be juggled pretty frequently, but the family one is made out of glass. And if
Mhm.
you drop that one, it may not, repair the same way. So for me, it is just like I now finally understand how fast this is happening as my kids are growing
Mhm.
and at these ages it's like they're learning something different every week and every month and it's such a quick advancement.
Yeah.
So honestly, like just to slow down more, to the presence that you were talking about before.
Yeah.
Most of us are pretty fast-paced people and trying to juggle all these different things and
Yeah.
Mhm.
you got to remind yourself to slow down.
And I think to Mike's point, having three, it's so funny. A friend of mine, she's an attorney, and she was saying she's about to have her third, and she's like, you know what? No, I'm sorry, she had her third,
Mm.
and she goes, they all lied to me. I go, what do you mean they lied to me? She says, 2, 3, it's the same thing. She goes, no, it's not. She goes, they all lied to me.
3 is
But
10.
yeah, so it's
Yeah.
it's funny,
It's
but
not. Women who have 3 children should be worshipped.
yeah,
I've always said that.
and then I've had my father-in-law say, but you're not a real parent unless you have 3. So I still don't understand that, but
He said that out loud?
oh, and out loud. Oh yeah, he's told me that multiple times that, 2 you're kind of even, but 3 you're outnumbered, and then,
See, when I had a daughter, and I get it when people have 3 when the first 2 are the same gender. But when I had a daughter and then I had a son and he was healthy,
Yeah.
I took a knee, got the vasectomy, and ran the clock out. There's no reason to run up the score.
Oh my gosh, we've had clitorises and vasectomies
Yeah. Well, listen.
all in
We
the
need number
same
3. It's
10-minute
not even new.
period.
we need number 3 now.
And we're being canceled, Nick.
Took a knee before you ended up on zone defense.
Exactly.
It's hard out here.
Because at that
It's
point, it's
hard out
touchdown
here.
the other way every
Yeah.
single day. I wonder if you run into this situation. I had a friend with 4 kids, all under the age of 6, and there was always one missing. So I was like, wait, where is he?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, in the house missing.
Oh,
You know,
okay.
that you can't
Yeah.
keep an eye on everybody.
Yeah.
One of them's not mobile yet, so we haven't had that. We haven't
Yeah.
started
You
having
can
that
still
issue
strap
yet.
the baby.
Yeah.
I agree with you. You said though about the slowing down because one thing that we're lucky about, and when Tiffany allows Erik time off, then that also. But we get to control our own schedules.
Yeah.
And so once my business became self-sufficient, I actually thought that same thing where I was like, you know what, I'm missing too much time. So what I decided to do is have this concept of. Yeah, everyone thinks about like, oh, remember when they were this age, or remember when I did this. Every day, I pretend I'm 10 years in the future. Remember when they were this age.
Mhm.
So I enjoy every age. So I enjoy them being 16 and 11. I enjoyed them being 10 and 4. Or 10 and 6. I enjoy every part of it.
Yeah.
And just if you can do that and just be grateful for that age, then you don't let it pass by so fast.
It's
But,
really cool, Mike, and what I've been told by multiple times, all 3 kids, but mostly my middle, Abby, she comes up with this all the time. She says, Dad, they remember everything.
Yep.
They
do.
remember everything, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And she remembers things like, oh yeah, I remember we would go to the beach this many times, and we went to this Disney, and we did all these details. And then you start to think, well, everything you've been doing and pouring into the kids, because you're just going, you're going, and
Yeah.
you're going, and you're hoping you're doing everything you need to do to be that parent or be that person for your kid. But then you hear that feedback, and you're like, okay, I'm at least feel like I've got a good nugget there. So
Yeah. Somebody described that to me one time as like when they're 18, they don't always remember the time you spent and the stuff you did when they were 2.
Mm.
When they're 4, they remember the 2 stuff. And when they're 6, they remember the 4 stuff. And as long as it's consistent, it just, it builds up and they always remember.
Mhm. Yeah.
So how do you guys balance? You're all leaders in our community. So how are you balancing being present? Because that's demanding. That's evenings, that's weekends. You're also building businesses. How are you balancing technically, logistically? How are you balancing work and being present at home?
It was difficult early. I mean, I started my law firm in 2009. That was the same year my daughter was born. So already like in that 18-month period, I got married, had a baby, bought a house, started a law firm, like
Mm.
in the worst
Wow.
economic time in
Mhm.
Florida's history, So I said, well, if we can do it this year, every year else will be easy.
Mm.
And early on, I was pulled in a lot of different directions, obviously with my philanthropic work and networking and building the business. And I was doing it on my own at that time. So on the weekends, all I was doing was drafting. I was pulling all-nighters every Saturday, drafting documents. So it was difficult. And I mean, probably part of the reason I ended up getting divorced because I was putting a lot of focus on the children, but none on my marriage.
Right.
And then as we progressed, like as a law firm, and as I progressed with revenue building and adding associates, and now I didn't have to do everything, then it became much easier to split it. And I will say, one of the things that made me the best dad is my divorce, because I was doing everything at all times. I was a boss. I was a lawyer. I was a friend. I was a networker. Whatever I was being all these things plus a father, plus a husband, and every single day. So you can't do that. And once I got divorced, I had my kids and still to this day, every Monday and Tuesday and every other weekend. Well, you can invite me to anything in the world Monday. You'd be like, we're going to meet the president Monday. You ready to come? And I'm like, can't have my kids. And so by making that line in the sand, by drawing that line and saying Mondays and Tuesdays, I can't do anything except spend time with my kids, and every other weekend, same thing. And then Wednesdays and Thursdays, not feeling guilty about going to networking events and charity events, going out with friends, even just going to have a cigar, whatever. It doesn't matter because this is not my night supposed to be with the kids. It actually made me more present in all the things I do.
Mhm. Yeah, same. I'm meticulous about my calendar. Like my planning for the next year starts in October.
Yes, sir.
So so Tiffany knows, like,
sir.
I'm gonna plan the Children's Harbor mixer I'm doing with them
Yep.
in October or November.
I love it.
And I do that with everything in my business and all of my events, and I do it with my family and personal life stuff. So my wife will wake up one November morning with a calendar invite
Yep.
for 24 date nights throughout the year.
Nice.
And my kids, so I got this concept from a friend of mine a couple years ago where he was like, I take one Friday a month and I make sure I'm done working by like noon or 1 o'clock. And I pick up one of my kids and do something with that one kid.
I love that.
And so my wife and I have adopted that. And one Friday a month, that time is blocked for me to go pick up my daughter or my son, and it's dedicated one-on-one time. And most people in the real estate industry have to work weekends and have to work after 5. I've been really lucky to attract a bunch of good agents to the brokerage and hire some help. So it is rare that I take an appointment after 5 anymore or on weekends, and really um, try to neglect my phone during that time as much as I can,
Yes.
and setting expectations with clients and agents, and everybody understands that I'm trying to be present over here if you're setting proper expectations,
I love that. I love that. Date your kids.
Yeah.
Chafe, what are your non-negotiables?
Non-negotiables,
Boundaries. What are they?
boundaries. So time, you just guys mentioned it, with, Ian, he's 20 now. He's addicted to golf. So he's always, we're going. I can't do that, brother. I mean, you have a different schedule than I do.
Mm.
But the girls actually in the morning, they're, 14 and 16. And I still have the opportunity to take them to school in the morning. So that to me, I'm very intentional as much as I can. Of course, we have networking in the mornings and stuff like that. And in the beginning, so Hannah, she's a little bit younger. She's 14, but when she was 13, there's a stage. I don't know if you guys knew this stage. So I was actually debriefed by Abby that they go through a stage where they don't want you touching them. They don't have anything to do with you, Mike. I don't know if you've actually had that experience. And then with Abby, it was not a little different, but Hannah comes, basically saying, Dad, I don't know, this is when she was 13. My Abby, 16, says, hey, don't worry. She turns 14. She'll come back to you, start hugging you. I'm like, okay. So I'm basically getting this consultation from my 16-year-old. Needless to say, Hannah loves that I take her to school, from this little window of time. Before it was like, whatever. So it's interesting the different, transformation as they're going through these different stages. But to your question, blocking time and being with them presently is huge. Yeah.
That morning time is huge also because I'll tell you, so I take my kids to school every morning, even though I don't have to. My daughter she's in high school, so her bus comes at 6:30 in the morning. And so I wake up at 5:30 and I go over, and that period of time, which is only about 20 minutes, but I get to spend with her. We talk about everything.
Everything.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and the rest of the time it's not her fault or my fault, but she's got her own friends. She's 16. She doesn't want to be with dad. We do daddy daughter dates once in a while, but that's just like I follow her around while she shops. But the spending time in the car waiting for the bus and talking about she has a debate competition coming up. She's running things by me, and I give her an idea, and then she uses it in the competition. She goes, "Daddy, that worked great. Thank you." That's awesome. And then I walk my son to school right after that every day. And just that walk,
love
that
that.
4-minute walk right across the street to the school, that's something that, I've been doing that for 11 years. My son's going to be in middle school next year. So that's at the end of it. So that time, it means a lot to me, but I know it means a lot to them as well.
That's really special. That is
That's
really
only 4 minutes, but it's about being present for 4
Yes.
minutes.
Absolutely.
Correct.
On
Yes.
a repeated
Huge.
basis.
They will
Huge.
always
Love it.
remember that. They will
Yeah.
always remember, and they're not going to think it was 4 minutes. They're always going
Right.
to remember that he was there every single morning for me for school. So tell me, what's something that your kids have taught you that has made you a better leader?
So going through the younger years, there's tantrum, emotions are running high, and the logic brain is not all the way developed, right? So
Mhm.
I'm trying to logic through these times.
That
That
good luck.
doesn't work.
Good luck, Nick.
No.
I took this course for about a year. I did one-on-one coaching and a group course on emotional intelligence.
Mhm.
And I took it with the intention of being a better leader, honestly. Like I took it for the communication with my clients and agents, and it made me a much better husband and father, honestly, because it really is about learning how to like slow down, identify the emotion that they're
Mhm.
going through, because the way that I was raised and the way a lot of us were raised is when the emotion is running high, we shut it down so we can move on to the next
Yes.
thing we got to do.
Yes.
And that doesn't allow them to process it and move on to the next thing. So learning how to help them identify their emotions so that they can process it and get through it um, did wonders with my kids. It made me a better listener for my wife as well, of course, instead of stop trying to fix things all the
Stop
time.
trying to fix. Let's
right?
take a moment.
It's not the nail.
Stop trying to fix the things.
Yeah.
Just be present. Just listen. Just listen.
And the same, and that all applied to the agents on my team that I coach. They don't all want to be coached the same.
Right.
And some do want to be told here's the
bullet
things
points.
to do.
Yeah.
And others really need to be able to therapy through it and process.
Mhm.
So
Yes, I think that's with every field. What's one thing that your kids have taught you that you feel has made you a better leader? I'm going to ask you the same question.
So yeah, I was going to tag on to that because at first I was thinking, they've taught me gratitude, and not in the way that they're physically teaching me that, but just in the way that I've experienced their lives and been present there for it. But to the communication skills, it's 100% true. My kids are like so different in their mentalities. My daughter, she is really more like me. She's ultra pragmatic.
Mhm.
She's just a robot. She's just, hey, this is what I have to do to get into UF. Check, 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 check. Straight A, got it. Got to do the SAT course, got it. Got to be the president of all the clubs, got it. And she just does it, and she doesn't care. Like it could be the best day of her life or the worst day of her life. Her friend could die, or she could win the lotto. I go, Kendall, how was your day? She goes, it was good. It was fine. That's she's across the board. Whereas my son, everything that happens is the best thing or the worst thing to ever happen. The exact opposite as far as emotions. So I have to talk to them differently.
Mhm.
And that does lend itself to what Nick was just saying, dealing with not just employees, but clients.
Mhm.
There are some clients where you need to let them just run. Like a fish on the line, just let them run. Don't fight them. And then there are other clients that need to be led.
Mhm.
And you have to learn that in the first 10 minutes of the meeting and then just take it from there. So having kids that are so different has helped me like hone that skill.
I love that.
yeah.
Speaking of different,
Mhm.
no, it's interesting because when you start going through stages when you're kids, probably about when they turn 11, I'd say 11, 10, 11 is when all the things as an adult, you kind of like, you got your stuff, but you really keep your stuff. But your kids now, when they turn 10 or 11, in my experience, they basically call you out on everything and anything that, you have. So the good, the bad, and the ugly. So for me, I think in that aspect, all three kids have made me more self-aware of what I'm good at and what I really suck at. So it's one of those things, and it's in your face. So it's one of those things where all these things that you had just never dealt with, you have to deal with, because then you have to come back and approach it differently. So I think it's a two-way street in terms of you're pouring into them. They're actually pouring into you and developing you without you even knowing it. So
Do your kids know what you do? And how do they describe it?
So I actually have a funny story about this.
Does it involve a bad word?
Yeah.
Oh.
No, I'll
it's got to be three, Tim. It's got to be three.
No, but I actually, by the way, the first two are clinical. but I have a really funny story. Because when she was little, so she was very rude to my ex-wife, and so had to be punished. And so to punish her, I took away whatever it was she was using at the time. Might have been a phone, might have been a game, might have been I don't know, whatever it was, my TV. But whatever it was, she was very angry about this. And this was when she was probably, I want to say 7, 8 years old. And she wrote in her diary nasty words about me. And so my ex-wife, in cleaning her room, found the diary and looked at it. This was like a week later. And she says, hey, Mike, I want to show you this, don't get too mad or anything. And I look at it and I go, and it says, my dad is an asshole. My dad is such an effing asshole. And his law firm, WFP Law, isn't even good. Steiner, Isco, and Green is much better. And writes this in the book. So I look at it and I go, I'm going to have a talk with her. And so I go in there and I go, Kendall, I found your diary entry. She goes, Daddy, I don't mean that. I felt it at the time. I don't mean that. And I said, look, there's 2 things that bother me, and these are teachable moments. Number 1 is don't put your feelings in writing, because they'll come back to haunt you. Later, somebody might see that, and that's how you're going to be remembered, is what you wrote down. And the second thing is, Steiner, Isco, and Green is a personal injury firm. I handle estate planning. You don't even understand what I do for a living, and that's what hurts the most. And so for me, that was a fun moment, actually. But to this day now, her goal is to get into law school and come work for me at my estate planning law firm.
Oh, not for Steiner.
Steiner is going to be, it doesn't even exist anymore, but it's a personal injury firm.
Excellent.
That is cool.
Yeah. Different names now.
Yeah.
Yours are tiny. Do they know?
Mine are tiny. My daughter used to go around saying Daddy smells houses. And I didn't correct her, because sometimes I do.
You do smell houses.
Something wrong with that.
But no, they've got it down now. They understand that Daddy sells houses.
Excellent.
And no, it's the cutest thing in the world when my daughter will sometimes be like, I think I want to sell houses when I grow up. And I'm like, you can do whatever you want, but I hope you do come.
I'm always looking for
over, somebody needs to.
And we can go play more golf.
Yeah.
All right, your turn.
Yeah, no.
And I know what I've heard them. So go ahead.
All 3 of them have been intertwined with Children's Harbor coming out and being a part of what we do. So that's kind of cool. I think the first time Ian had an experience, I've been there about a year, I think, with Children's Harbor. And we took probably about 13 of the boys to a University of Miami, Virginia Tech game. And Ian came with me because we're big UM fans. We've been going tailgating and for over 20 years. So that experience was pretty cool. So he got an idea of what we do and how we do things. But what's really funny, this is a funny story. So back when I was actually doing a ton of cold calls for a gentleman that we probably all know, Connections for Business, Dave. And I would do a lot of stuff everywhere. And I would have this headset. And then Abby, she would come over, and I had, at my script or whatever, and I would refer to it or whatever. But I had literally still a video of her saying, Dad, I want to try this. I want to try this. And she literally put the headset on, and she literally went through the whole thing. And we actually called a couple people.
Oh.
And yeah.
Did you close?
No, we didn't close it.
Oh.
No. So,
She's fired.
Yeah, it
like
takes
that
8 to 9, calls. As Mike, as you know, buddy, how that works. So.
Okay, that's very cute. I can totally see that. I wish you had filmed it.
I do. I have to find it. I'll send it to you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you'll enjoy it.
So let's go back to one last serious question. Serious, Mike. What's the number one value that you hope you can instill in your kids and that they will carry with them as they grow? I know you have this on tap because you are so intentional.
Yeah, it's I really, and I don't know actually how to put it into the shortest version of these words, but it's really that, a belief in themselves and that they can achieve anything through hard work and discipline. And, I guess that's a little less flowery, but it's the truth. And so, and it's something that we try to demonstrate all the time. They see me and their mom, and they see how hard we work and the things that we're trying to do and grow. And so it's something I talk to them about all the time. You know, they're at an age where they're watching superhero stuff, and so they want to be a superhero or an astronaut or any of that. And we continuously tell them, like, you can do any of these things you want to. You can help people for a living.
Mhm.
I don't tell them they can be super kitties necessarily, um, but that the hard work and discipline and focus can get you there.
Okay.
Well, I'll repeat the word I said before: gratitude.
Mhm.
And gratitude in different levels. So obviously, as they're young, I want them to be grateful for what they have, not always thinking like, "What more can we get?" What more toys can we buy for my son, or what more, how many times I can do my nails for my daughter, things like that. Being grateful for that, they're pretty good about that, about being grateful for what's purchased, but also being grateful for the things that most people are not grateful for, like the things that we would categorize as, "Oh, this is a bad thing that happened." In like what I try to teach them is nothing happens to you, things just happen.
Mhm.
And so if something just happens, it's not inherently good or bad. You can be grateful for even something like traffic.
Mhm.
Okay, I'm grateful that I sit in this luxury car listening to Sirius XM radio with air conditioning. We didn't have that 20 years ago. This is wonderful. Be grateful for that. I'm grateful I wasn't in the accident that caused the traffic.
Right.
I feel like once you get to the point where you can be grateful about the things that annoy you, you stop being angry. And if you can live your life without anger, then you can be a productive member of society.
Mhm.
I love that.
Yeah. It's interesting. I go back and I think about my youngest, and when she was really young, Hannah, she had some challenges at school. There's this one kid, I think she was in elementary school, and she was being bullied. And I remember having the conversation. She said, "Dad, I understand this and that." And the one comment I have, and I basically the value I was wanting to bring to the table was kindness. So regardless where somebody is showing up, no matter a kid, how old they were, I said, that kid probably is not getting what you're getting at home. I said, what he really needs, whenever he starts to lash out, go give him a hug. Go give him a hug and see what change. And she started to do that back in like fifth grade. And she was, "Dad, you're right." And those little things I always like to instill with the kids. You don't know where anybody else's headspace is at the time.
Mhm.
Just lead with kindness, and things usually will follow. So.
Thank you.
Love it.
Thank all of you for clearing your calendar and for being present with us today to talk about this. I really enjoyed the conversation. If you are a parent and you've been listening today and you're thinking, "Ah, I wish I could connect with my kids like this," go down to the episode notes and download our free resource guide. I believe we are calling it 10 Conversations That Matter and How to Actually Start Them. And this is going to give you 10 different ways to kick off those conversations that you want to have with your kids that are a little bit more meaningful and easy button ways. And as always, subscribe to our channel, subscribe to our newsletter. And if you know a parent who's on the struggle bus and needs to hear this conversation, or you know a great dad that just needs to be affirmed, this reminded me of you, share this episode with them. We'll see you next time on This Is Now Parenting Teens Today. Have a great day.